Sure. Open education to me is about lifelong learning. So it doesn't matter what stage you are in your life cycle, having access to education, whether that's to retrain, gain a skill, is so important in today's society.
Well, first and foremost, I don't believe that education should be a commodity. I don't think it should be paid for, and I don't think that knowledge is something that we should buy and sell. I think it should be open to everyone, and everyone should be able to see it and use it as they need to.
Open education is about having the tools around education, learning, not just programs, but resources available to people, and available for them to use in an accessible way. Available whether it's online or in a formal setting, in a classroom setting, having those resources available to people and accessible and affordable and convenient. So it can come in a range of different forms.
Okay.
Well, what it means to me is that an open education system is one in which there is equitable access to education at all levels, but it's not just access into, it's also the kind of education that gives quality access to the next level and the next stage and to a good life and to life's opportunities and those fulfilling things such as a good job and a family sustaining income.
Right.
Well, thank you for asking. Open education means a lot to me because it aligns a lot with not only my pedagogy but also the ways I think of Pacific Island people, about knowledge being shared, and that knowledge is not selfish, and then knowledge is shared with people who will appreciate that knowledge. I totally support the open education in that it allows for flexibility, it allows for us to be able to engage Pacifica, I'm talking about, in an environment that is not constrictive or stifling. I've always believed that education and knowledge is useless unless it's passed on and passed on efficiently, and that knowledge cannot be selfish. And as the holders of knowledge, as educators, I think it's our responsibility to be able to share that knowledge with everyone, and it definitely aligns with our cultural values about the sharing and the distribution of knowledge. So recently.
Tēnei te mahi kia koutou, he tēnei wā. When I think about open education, I think about it's actually not something new in the world of te ao Māori. Because really, if we think about the essence of ako, or the principles that inform ako Māori pedagogy, being more than that, ako being about our responsibility to, as kaiako, as pauako, or people who are involved in education, we have a responsibility to support every individual to be who and what they may. And I think for me, when I look at it, and so when I think about open education, it's about how are we taking learning to the potential learners, and then also how do we value the experience and skills of the learners.
The thing that always sticks in my mind is watching someone who makes an internal decision to make a difference.
Right.
And I always think back to a young girl that I used to teach in North Wales, and she had failed on a number of occasions, and we had this conversation, and I just felt at that time she was about to be thrown off the course yet again, that she made a decision to take herself seriously. And now many years later, she's a research scientist in New York for a biotech company doing some remarkable work. But it was a decision that that she made herself. She was lucky, I think, that she was able to access those opportunities. She nearly took herself out of it. but there's a lot of people who never get the chance to even start, and they're the people that worry me.
I think open access is important anywhere, but particularly in South Auckland, where you've got people who perhaps don't have enough funds to go into classroom-based universities or institutions. And I think that, again, education is a human right. It shouldn't be something we pay for. It should be something that's really always open. And if you really want to know about things and be able to research things and be able to have general access to everything, then you should be. That's what supports and helps people.
You know, for Pacific communities in the county's Manukau area, you know, they will look for opportunities to learn, both online and in a formal setting. You know, they'll look for these resources, but you know, you've also got to not just be accessible and open. People have got to be motivated to use those resources. They've got to be, you know, and have an attitude of you know, wanting to learn and developing themselves, growing themselves, in terms of training needs and, you know, filling, I think, people's, you know, minds with knowledge and wisdom through, you know, open access education is really important, and it's important for Pacific people. It's important for all groups that you know, want to grow and develop and have a passion for learning.
Open access is just critical. In fact, as we develop our programs, it's about making them accessible to our community. We want a thriving, rich community, whether that's social richness or contributing to our local economy in South Auckland. So our whānau and communities need to be able to, for no cost, access education when they need it, how they need it, and for a particular purpose.
Okay. It's absolutely critical. I mean, we aspire to open access, and that's why I have spent quite a lot of time on these pathways and transitions that the tertiary high school, for instance, is opening up education for a group that the school system has closed access down. So, you know, open means that anyone should be able to come to MIT and find a way in, and that should lead to a pathway which will take them through to whatever they aspire to do. It's not a question of, well, you can do a short course, or you can do a course that will then send you off to perhaps low paid income and that. It should be continuous, seamless, managed and open.
And think about, you know, simply the e moko philosophy, where, you know, I think about my nan would say, haere mai e moko, noho mai koe. You know, come with me, sit beside me, and we'd be in our kumara patch and, you know, quietly as a young person trying to race against her to try and keep up with her. But I didn't realise the skills that she was teaching me in that frame.
That's lovely.
The value of how we do what we do, the way we do, the principles of active engagement. So setting up communities of practice where we share the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad, the mad, you know, but in a real meaningful and purposeful way. That the art of he whiti whiti kōrero, to talk to each other, to unravel. I see our role as kaiako in this open education type of framework as being kaitiaki or guides. We don't own our learners, we do not own their destination, but we are part of the journey. And whatever that journey is for our ākonga, for the learners, we should be equipping them to navigate. And all we do is provide the skills. So when we talk about open texts, it's about accessibility and availability. It's about different forms and formats for that. It's about being user friendly.
Yeah.
You know, that it makes sense. Yeah.
First of all, our contribution to open resources is an easy one. We have a very strong quality assurance program, so the content and the resources that we'll make available, our community can rest assured that it is quality assured. In terms of access to open resources, I mean, that opens up Pandora's box from time to time. But again, with the right sort of controls used in the right way, using the expertise of our academic teams, we can do that with a degree of confidence.
Learning from different people, and also people from different countries, not only within New Zealand or Australia. When people assess, like, let's say, other research projects or journal articles or even the free e-books, or they got different materials and resources from, let's say, maybe somewhere in America or somewhere in England or somewhere in Asia. So it's not just limited, the distance.
So another way of viewing open education is that it's a highly collaborative model that allows expertise to be drawn from wherever it might exist in the world and to be shared freely in order to help someone. And if we are serious about really making dramatic changes to a community, to think that any one qualification, any one institution can do that by itself is a flawed logic, and we end up competing with each other rather than collaborating. And no one person can now hold that knowledge, no one institution can hold the knowledge that's necessary. So collaboration and providing open access to that is vital to the next 50, 100 years. So we work in the areas of food, and we work in the areas of plant science and of sort of the green infrastructure of cities, food production, and I want to be able to access information freely in order to be able to find solutions to the problems that I want to address. If I want to use data freely, then I need to give data freely. There's this sort of reciprocity that goes with it, and we will all benefit if that is the.
A public institution like MIT, most of our research is readily available. We publish most of our research, and we're constantly encouraging our academics who are researching to do that in an open way with their community, with employers, with other important stakeholders, so that they can make valuable contributions to our community.
Well, there's no point in research unless it's shared, and there's no point in generating data unless that data becomes available for others to use in different ways. But we wrap it all up in a very mean and sort of tight ownership, and it's owned by ethics committees, and it's owned by individual researchers, and even the way research gets published, by and large, it doesn't change any education system. What changes education system are people who can act as brokers for research, and modestly I put myself in that category. And so that what we really need are people who can operate as brokers midway between the researchers and the coalface, I don't like that term much, but the classroom teacher, the person who's working with young people. And I've to be honest, made a career for myself doing that. I've written over 1,300 newspaper columns, when I one a week for 13 years, in Education Review. I blog a little bit spasmodically at the moment, just through some time pressures, but I'm getting back into a two a week blog routine. And what I do is I think I can understand research, and I can tell people what the 5 bullet points are. That's what makes research open. and there's no need for practitioners to get excited about the methodological elegance of research. What they need to know is what will impact on what I do.
Right. And to me, it's a bicultural word. Te ache. We take the ache out of teach and have a taste of celebration. So, I mean, when I think of open education, I think of that. I think of ways of, to me it's about how we value. And it's not new, but it's about taking time to remember what we've always known and bringing it into contemporary society so that our tamariki mokopuna whānau can actually flourish. And if that's not at the core of it, then maybe we have to ask ourselves as potential and current educators, why are we here?
Knowledge. So research, all that should be shared, and it should be a sharing community. Education, if the country is supposed to move forward, then definitely there should be sharing of.
I mean, we're trying to make a better world, aren't we? We're trying to make a better society, and we just watch what's happening around the world to know how uneducated or where evidence no longer matters, what that leads to. We need to fight against that. And openly sharing data, open access to data is a fantastic way to safeguard against a bias and prejudice.